I'm going to Washington because I want to help Prime Minister Mark Carney be successful in negotiating a trade deal with the United States. Now, that might sound counterintuitive because I am a principled conservative. He is our liberal prime minister. But the reality is that this is not a partisan issue.
Now, MPs often travel to other countries and meet with counterparts in different governments. Often they go as groups of sort of parliamentary trips. This, though, is a little bit unusual. Having a single MP go to the United States with no coordination from the federal government to represent himself, as speaking on behalf of Canada or Canadians, or at least his constituents, and trying to, smooth things over. But interesting note here, Jivani is a friend of the U.S. Vice President, J.D. Vance. They went to law school together at Yale and have stayed in touch over the years. Could that possibly open some doors in Washington, kind of help Canada's position along? If Jivani makes interventions with the Vice President himself, well, possibly, maybe not, because as we know, Donald Trump kind of doesn't listen to a lot of advice from anyone, including his vice president. He seems to make up his mind on his own without a lot of inputs from others. So whether this will have any effect on the trade relationship with the United States, that is still a very open question.
We have extensive contacts with the U.S. administration, constant contacts with the U.S. administration. Minister LeBlanc gave a briefing to Mr. Jivani, who I don't believe is the trade critic for the opposition, certainly not the Minister of International Trade, nor the Prime Minister.
So what do you think he's going to do?
I think it might have something to do with all of you.
I think it might have something to do with all of you, Mark Carney says, referring to journalists and suggesting, I think the subtext of what he's saying there is that this is essentially a media stunt to get attention for someone who is still a fairly new MP and is trying to make his name in conservative circles. And Carney also noting that Jivani is not the official opposition's trade critic either, so suggesting he doesn't really have any position, any role that would require him to do this. Here at City News, we've reached out to Jivani and asked him about who is paying for this trip, whether he's funding it himself or whether it's coming out of his MP's budget, which means ultimately taxpayers will be paying to send him to Washington. We have not yet heard back from him on that. Whether anything actually comes out of this, maybe he does get a meeting with J.D. Vance, his old college buddy. Maybe he has a meeting with senators, congressional representatives who might be amenable to hearing this message from another Canadian MP. But I don't think at this point it looks like Jamil Jivani is going to solve our trade difficulties with the U.S.